One of the questions that I always see around is, why do animals suffer, right? If they don't deserve suffering, if they have no karma, why are they suffering so much on this planet? In order to understand why animals suffer and feel pain and why they are going through what they are going through on this planet, we need to understand how life unfolds on this plane, right? So we need to understand that life is a divine principle that is expressed into a particular realm. So we have the minerals, let's say. So we're talking about physical life. Minerals, they are not animated, they don't have a soul, but they do have some sort of divine magnetism, right? So that's like the first category of life here on planet Earth. Again, I'm not talking about biology or biological life, I'm talking about divine principle of life. Minerals are experiencing life for the first time on a material plane, and these minerals, they are just existing, they're just experimenting, so they can't do much, they can't move, they can't move or interact because they are extremely simple, and that's why they don't develop a lot of traces of personality or interaction. Then we have plants, the plant realm, right? The plant kingdom. That plant kingdom, again, those beings, trees, plants, herbs, they do not have a soul. They don't have a spirit, but they have a principle of life. So they interact with the environment. They don't move. They don't have personality. They don't think. They don't feel pain. But they are this divine principle of life being expressed on the physical plane as a plant, as a tree. And they interact with the environment, right? They interact with light and water and air and soil. They move these nutrients, so they interact, right? So there's already, they've got electric pulses, so there's an interaction, there's a movement, there's life moving, right? Then we have the animal kingdom. Within the animal kingdom, we have insects, and insects are the very first time where this divine principle of life emerges to experience instinct in order to preserve life, in order to reproduce, to multiply, to grow, to make sure that they have food, and that's it. So instinct is a natural and intelligent principle, right? So this is life, this is a principle. When those insects, they evolve, right, biologically, but also when they grow spiritually, which means that when they become more complex after a long period of experiences, they reincarnate as a group, they reincarnate into animals, right? The animals we talk about here, from birds to dogs, cats, horses, turtles, whatever. And those animals are experiencing instincts. We have a scale of animals from the most simple to the most complex. And, if we talk about the most complex animals that we know, we will definitely categorize the dog, the cats. We're gonna talk about horses, pigs, a diverse group of monkeys and chimpanzees, and we understand that those animals that are the most complex ones, they do have instinct, they do present instincts, but they do not rely entirely on their instincts like a less complex animal does. So let's say if you get a dog, right? You have a dog. Dog is a species, right, that they are domesticated, and therefore they interact with a species other than theirs, and they sometimes prefer their species, humans, than their own, right? And they do, but what I'm saying is that they care a lot more about the human than other animals. Even when they are a family of animals, they care too much, they worship the human, so you see that this is not part of the instinct, that there's something beyond, there's something that requires ideas and emotions and complex neuron connections to form, right? So we have something beyond instinct, right? Dogs are mostly on instincts, but not entirely. Similar to cats and horses and everything like that. But when you get like an animal like a snake, for instance, right, or a bat, you see that they rely a lot more on their instincts than on emotions. They are more complex than insects, but they're still very much in the world of instincts. Subsequently, we have humans. Humans are animals in the biological sense, but spiritually we are slightly different because we are older than animals. We are older spirits than horses, or the spirits of horses or spirits of dogs, for instance. So we are still keeping a lot of instincts, but we have something beyond. We have intellect, we have ideas, we have emotions, we have something beyond. So we don't rely entirely on instincts. In fact, we have more of the intellect and ideas and formulation of ideas than, or morals or in principles, than we have instincts. And what happens is sometimes we have the instincts that we have, we are actually making them grow by combining them with an idea. So for instance, when you have a fantasy, sexual fantasy, that is part of your instinct of like having sex, but also you are adding ideas and thoughts, and you're creating something around that, and you create a fantasy. So see that you are actually expanding that instinct. What I want to say about this is that, can we just see that across evolution, from minerals and plants and insects and animals and humans, we are more and more trying to develop something more elevated, trying to leave instinct behind. And talking about instinct is talking about suffering, it's talking about pain. People, animals, and other beings in other planets, in other planes, they will experience pain and physical suffering when they are in this stage of getting rid of instincts, right? So when you go to school, there's a lot of syllabus, there's a lot of subjects that you like, and there's others that you don't. So the ones you like, let's say that you like biology and English, right? And for you it's great, but when it comes to maths and physics, it's really like painful for you, right? You're not going through that because of a punishment, right? You're going through that because you need that, you just don't understand. So you suffer because you don't like it at all. And then eventually, when you learn it, when you go through that, you realize, oh, that was actually important for me. That was actually something that made me come from a state of not knowing to the state of, now I know almost everything. The stage of instinct is the stage where we have to go through pain. This physical pain is not a punishment or the result of something. It's not the reaction of an action, right? So, because we are maybe trying to parallel the idea of suffering to punishment, right? Why do animals suffer? They never done anything to deserve that, or they have no karma, so why are they suffering like us humans? The difference is that humans, most of them, I think, the entirety of humans, we suffer because we do have karma. Animals, they don't have karma. Animals are learning, and through these experiences of suffering and pain, they grow. We went through that as well when we were animals, either in or on this planet or elsewhere in the universe. We went through pain, and we are still going through pain. Now the pain that we are causing or suffering is because karma, because we can decide which is good and which is bad, and we can take action, right? Animals, they can't because they are heavily on instincts. Remember, they are still relying mostly on instincts, whereas humans are not. We can decide, we have ideas, we have a conception of something, and we can tell, good from bad, and, we can, do from there. And that's the difference. Why when we suffer now is because it's not that we deserve, but we will need that suffering in order to bring balance back to our spirit. Whereas animals, they are just like experiencing that for the first time. Pain is only in between the groups who are experiencing some sort of instinct, from the most simple to the most complex. When there's no instinct to be learned or experienced or developed or cleansed, there's no physical pain anymore, there's no physical suffering anymore. When humans finally evolve and they no longer need to reincarnate on this planet, physical pain is not going to exist anymore. Why? Because instinct is no longer a thing in their spirits. We were animals at some point, either on this planet and most likely in other planets. We were animals, pretty much like our ancestors. They were, other types of humans. And before being other types of humans, like Australopithecus or Neanderthal, they were something else, more similar to a gorilla, for example, just so we know what I'm talking about. So we were animals at some point. We weren't created a spirit of a human. We weren't created this way. We came to this time-space reality not complex at all. We came very simple, right, in a group of entities, and then we evolved and developed everything in instinct, and now we are trying to get rid of instinct, right? So again, animals are going through that because it's just normal for every being who comes on planet Earth to evolve. I know it's really painful to see, and it's so unfair, we think it's so unfair, but everyone went through that, and animals are going through that. However, I need to say that when somebody does anything bad against an animal, when they are, let's say, killing them in slaughterhouses, or when they are being cruel to any animal, they are not helping the animal evolve or learn more or learn faster. They're actually compromising their spiritual growth by detaining them from experiencing a full life, right, or a natural life. So that's very different to what happens in nature, right? In the wilderness, when you have a lion running after a gazelle, then you have that's natural. That's really painful. That's part of learning, but that's something natural and quick. When humans do that, and humans they do have karma, they do accrue karma, and they do know the difference between evil and good and evil. When humans do that, they are projecting something unnatural on their animal, and they are accruing karma, they are generating karma, and the animal is not going to be benefited. So humans will eventually have to kind of, let's say, pay for what they're doing. Not pay because somebody's going to ask for. It's not some sort of god or a spirit who's going to come and tell them they've got to suffer. They will see themselves morally inferior. They will feel ashamed, they will feel bad, they will feel guilty, right? And then they will maybe dedicate a life to helping animals, or dedicate a life to modifying that, and that's karma. So karma is not punishment. Karma is just an action that you develop to kind of like rebalance what you've done or what you haven't. Cruelty against animals, and that includes killing them for food, is going to generate karma, and it's not going to help them evolve spiritually. Obviously, as they suffer, as they are killed, they will then obviously grow spiritually, because this is just normal, right? But they are not going through that because they deserve. It's just because in this part of evolution, in between insects and humans, especially animals and humans, that's the part of this whole school, right? This is the year, this is the grade where we have physical suffering as part of the syllabus, part of the subjects that we study. So if you are in the first grade and second grade and third grade, let's say, there's no physical pain, physical suffering, right? When you are on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, there's physical suffering, and then no longer you have that. You are like at uni or something like that. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to say again is that animals are not suffering because they deserve. They are suffering because it is part of evolution. I know it sounds really unfair, but it's part of that. They're not going to be suffering forever. They will, and they do reincarnate elsewhere, and they reincarnate as humans as well, especially when they go from this planet to another planet in another plane. They reincarnate there as a more complex animal, and then they come back to Earth and they reincarnate here as humans, right? So everybody's reincarnating all the time and evolving and jumping from one realm to another realm. But what I want to emphasize again is that suffering is really present when it comes to getting rid of instincts, right? So when we develop our principles and morals of fraternity and love, we no longer have instincts, because instincts, they are made for you initially as an insect and animal to in order for you to procreate and grow and maintain life and keep food. Eventually, when you acquire some sort of like intellect and reason, you start using that instinct to become let's say selfish. You become selfish. You no longer want food to keep yourself alive. You want a lot of things. You want wealth, and you want it all, and this is selfish, and you don't want anybody else to have it. And and pretty much similar to the fantasy thing, you have the physical desire to have sex, and then when you add so much thought and reasoning and ideas to that, you transform that into fantasy, and then you having just like sex because of fantasy and not because of the instinct. So whenever there is instinct, there's going to be physical pain, right? And we are learning, in order to get rid of these instincts, when we suffer, or when the animals suffer physical pain here, they are learning by experience that is not good, that is rough, that particular thing called instinct drive them to suffer, and that they should avoid that, and they should help others not have pain anymore. You know what I mean? This is unfortunately part of the subject, in that grade, right? When we humans stop having instincts, or when our instincts is so low that we no longer need to learn from experience here on planet Earth, we might go to another plane, right, another planet, and reincarnate there, or not reincarnate at all for a while, and physical pain is not gonna exist anymore, because we don't have instincts anymore. It's not because we don't have the spirit, the physical body anymore. It's because we don't have the instincts anymore that we should get rid of, right? It's not that we should get rid of instincts, but the more reason and morals and principles, benevolent principles that you develop, the less instincts you have, because reason is the next stage after instinct, right? So that's it, basically. So unfortunately, animals suffer because of that, and we humans suffer because of that, and because of karma. Again, whatever is done to an animal, slaughterhouses, killing, cruelty, it's going to generate karma to the human, and it's not going to help the animal evolve spiritually.